Good afternoon and welcome to KTN's News Desk this Sunday afternoon. We're glad you made the time to join us. We want to start off with some news coming out of Berlin, and that is some good news for Kenya, as Eliud Kipchoge has won the 2015 Berlin Marathon in a personal best time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 1 second, ahead of compatriot Eliud Kiptanui. Ethiopian Feyisa Lilesa finished in third position. Kenya's Gladys Cherono made it a double win for Kenyan athletes as she clocked 2 hours, 19 minutes and 25 seconds to win the women's marathon. All right, and also to just remind you, we've been following what's going on in Mombasa with the international marathon there. That has just concluded. Victor Kiplagat from Elgeyo Marakwet County is the winner of that marathon, and he will be bagging 1.5 million shillings. John Juma, who's been following that, will give us a report later on in the day. But good news for Kenyans all round, from Berlin all the way back to Mombasa. Let's take you to Somalia now, where the new Chief of Defense Forces of the Somali National Army, Major General Mohammed Adan Ahmed, took over office on Saturday, 2 days after his swearing in. Major General Ahmed replaced his predecessor, Major General Dahir Adan Elmi. The handover event took place at the Ministry of Defense headquarters in Mogadishu. The ceremony was attended by Somali Prime Minister Omar Abdirashid Sharmake and members of his cabinet. Others were top army officers, including the African Union mission in Somalia and members of the diplomatic corps. In his inaugural speech, the new military chief called for increased resource allocation to the army. He also called for greater cooperation between the Somali National Army, AMISOM, the population and international partners. He said this would turn the military into a vibrant and effective force. In his remarks, Prime Minister called for a fully integrated army that is representative of Somalia and which will be in harmony with the political developments in that country. The new Chief of Defense Force was appointed on the 3rd of September and sworn in on the 24th of the same month at the Presidential Palace in Mogadishu. The United States and China have made a commitment to stop ivory trade. U.S. President Barack Obama and China President Xi Jinping announced that they will ban commercial trade of ivory in their respective countries. China and Hong Kong are home to the largest ivory market in the world, while the United States is one of the world's largest wildlife markets.
U.S. President Barack Obama and China President Xi Jinping have announced a commitment to ban commercial trade of ivory in their respective countries. The announcement comes at a time when at least 35,000 elephants are poached annually for their tasks to supply the ivory market in China, the United States, and other countries. China and Hong Kong are home to the largest ivory markets in the world. The United States is one of the world's largest wildlife market, and until recently, domestic ivory trade was legal. The U.S. government has now enacted a near-total ban on import and export of ivory. Zinziki Biku, KTN News.
All right, so it's not just the elephant that is at risk in wildlife trafficking. Illegal wildlife trafficking is doing some serious damage. Want to know how much? Let's take a look at the figures now. The illegal wildlife trade generates between 7 and 23 billion US dollars in illicit revenue annually, according to a report by the African Wildlife. The criminal activities in the trade range from trafficking and forgeries to bribes. Rhino poaching rose by 9% between 2007 and 2014. There's an estimated 40% drop of the giraffe population, and an annual removal of over 3,000 great apes from the wild. So you can see why wildlife conservation is something that's very important, not just for the elephant, but lots of other animals are at risk. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has thanked world governments for trusting Kenya with the role of spearheading the process that led to the adoption of the post-2015 development agenda. He was speaking when he addressed a special UN summit held to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals. Kenya co-chaired the intergovernmental process that led to the formulation of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Thereafter, President Kenyatta spoke to our very own Sophia Wanuna, and here now is part of that interview.
Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with Kenya is standing tall at this international gathering and playing a key role in developing this agenda, co-chairing that process. What does it say about Kenya that she's also been hosting all of these great meetings?
I think it means that I think Kenya is regaining her position on the international stage. And undoubtedly, it also pays a lot of credit to our own diplomats who have been recognized also for their capacity. As you know, Ambassador Asharia was the co-chair of the working group on the SDGs. And not many people thought that they would see the light of day. But then again, here we are as we adopt them at this General Assembly. And I think most countries are grateful for the role that Kenya played in that particular effort and continues to play, especially on issues relating to regional peace and security, and also our key involvement in major issues like the COP and the environmental climate change conference that's coming up in Paris, and the WTO that's coming. And just now we've just launched the TCAD process, which will be the first on the African continent next year. So I think Kenya is riding high and we're happy.
All right. Let's talk about also other engagements you're having on the sidelines. You met the Business Council on International Understanding earlier on today. I understand some of it was follow-up on GES. Were there any commitments made? What can you tell us about that meeting?
Yes, we had a good number of top companies represented, American companies who are very keen on investing in Kenya, both for Kenya and also to set themselves up in Kenya as a base for regional expansion, which is good for us. This is an opportunity also to expand our own economy, create jobs for our young people. We got a lot of commitments on the energy side. One company in particular doubled its commitment to invest in solar power in Kenya, to develop, committing itself over a period of time to developing up to about 2,000 megawatts of solar power, yeah, at a cost of approximately $4 billion. We had other companies in IT also committing to establish themselves in Kenya to work with our young people and recognizing the strides that Kenya has made on the IT front. We had companies also committing to working together with us on the health front. So overall, we think it was quite a positive session, and we're happy about the growing interest once again of American companies to invest in Kenya. A good number also keen on infrastructural developments, the LAPSET corridor. So I think this is all a good sign of great potential and opportunity for Kenya going forward.
All right. And in the SDGs, we have gender making it there. Women, even going by the Jubilee Manifesto, is a close issue to you. You're co-chairing one of the meetings on that. However, talk to us about how we protect the gains, because back home we're seeing the not more than 2/3 gender rule, full implementation pushed to 1 year because we're not quite there yet. And then when we're looking at, for example, the police service, there has been that stalemate, and we've had the minister in charge say that perhaps there needs to be a change in law because there isn't a competent woman to take that position.
I don't think the issue was lack of a competent woman. I think the issue is that we need to catch up with time in order to get more and more women in senior police positions so that they can indeed take up those positions. As you know, I have come out very strongly, and we are trying to persuade Parliament that indeed there is need for us to implement this 2/3 gender rule. We are continuing as a government to putting women on the center stage. We as the executive have done, for the first time in the history of Kenya, achieve the objective of having at least 1/3 of women in our administration. 1/3 of the people in our administration are actually women, and we've gone out of our way to ensure that they are not holding just menial positions. Defense, for the first time in the history of Kenya, is a position held by a woman. Foreign affairs, position held by a woman. Devolution, which is a major portfolio, held by a woman. Tourism, another senior portfolio, held by a woman. Environment, held by a woman. And I think Kenyans are saying for themselves that these are people who are doing a good and great job. And yes, we may not be where we want to be, but the strides that we are making are quite impressive. As a government, we have put in play, again for the first time, the 30% procurement for women, youth, and persons with disability, again trying to enhance the role that women play in development. You know, acknowledging that by leaving women and our young people out, you're basically leaving the majority of the population from the center of the developmental agenda. And we are doing everything we can to mainstream gender and to ensure that all able Kenyans are able to play their role in the development and growth of our country.
Again, youth, a subject close to your heart. You've talked a lot about this even in your speech to the Assembly. And one of the targets is increase the number of youth with relevant skills in national building. In Kenya, for example, we have the National Youth Service. And a lot of the times, however, despite the gains we have seen, there's a lot of challenges and a lot of politicking about it. What does your administration plan to do to ensure that your youth empowerment program is able to succeed across the country and take away the politics from all this?
We are going to focus on that. The unfortunate part is, you know, whenever you come up with innovative new programs, you will always face challenges from people, especially who don't understand what you're actually trying to achieve. But we are going to continue to focus and calling upon our colleagues in the political agenda to realize that unless we are able to properly focus on our young people, we are going to be creating a future problem. And this is a program that we want to roll out across the country. And we have seen a lot of success actually coming from it. We have seen crime rates fall in inner cities as a result of this program. We have seen young people begin to establish themselves in business as a result of this program and become self-employed and actually gone on to become employers themselves. So the focus on young people is something that we will not give up on. And I call upon all of us to recognize that let us work together to overcome whatever challenges there are. But it is important that if we are going to have not just growth, but inclusive growth, we must put more emphasis on bringing our young people and our women at the center of our development programs. And that is the focus that my government has, and I don't plan to be deviated. Yes, we have challenges, but challenges are there to be overcome.
And finally, Mr. President, the question on refugees and migrants is a global one right now. Kenya hosts over 500,000.
More than 500,000.
Exactly, more than 500,000. And we're seeing other countries in Europe debate about taking in 20,000 into their countries. Do you think the world will engage differently with Kenya?
Yes, this is actually one of the issues that I've been trying to bring out when we meet with some of the leaders that we're meeting with. And I'm saying that, you know, to them, they're looking at a challenge of bringing on board into Europe as a whole, despite their wealth and despite the opportunities that exist there. They are having a challenge taking on board 250,000. Kenya, which is a developing country, has placed host to millions of refugees, putting a lot of pressure, you know, on our scarce resources. And we have been telling them, well, this is the beginning, and we hope that they will begin to appreciate some of the challenges we as developing countries have faced, and for them to be able to put more effort in supporting countries like Kenya that have had to carry this weight in the past, as well as focusing on programs in the countries where these people are coming from, to see how we can create greater stability in those countries, putting resources, because at the end of the day, yes, there are those who are running away from some of the security problems that exist, but there are also those who are running away because of lack of opportunities in their home countries. So we need to begin to understand that this is not a problem that should be borne by just those who live in the regions where these these problems occur. But this is a global problem that requires global partnership in order for us to find lasting solutions.
Mr. President, thank you so much.
Always nice to see you again.
All right, you're watching KTN's news desk. Excuse me. We're taking a short break. Here's what's coming up after the break. All right, welcome back to KTN Weekend at 1. I'm a bit of a night owl, so you'll have to excuse me. It is not news desk, as I said before. It is the Weekend at 1, and we're glad you're still with us. Let's now give you an update of what's been going on in Zimbabwe. The First Lady there, Grace Mugabe, is reported to have blown about $3 million from her charity account in just under 2 months in a hectic spending spree. A report by the Zimbabwe Independent says the money was contained in a bank account used to source funds for her 50th birthday fundraising dinner held in July. As of the 1st of August, the report says she had a healthy balance of over $2.5 million. However, excuse me, the account was stripped of its fat balance through a frantic splurge with a series of withdrawals and transactions. It left the account with just $35,000 as of last Thursday. The $250,000 that was withdrawn on July the 20th was probably the money given to charity organizations by the First Lady. However, those close to her say some of the money was spent on luxuries. Okay, so what would you do with $2 million, especially with the dollar going now at about 105? That would be interesting. Do let us know at KTN News at Yvonne Okwara. If you are in Grace Mugabe's shoes, you'd probably wear a pair of shoes, wouldn't you, though? Right, let's take you back to the good news coming out of Berlin this afternoon. Eliud Kipchoge winning the 2015 Berlin Marathon, personal best time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and a second ahead of compatriot Eliud Kiptanui. Ethiopian Feisa Lilesa finished in third position. In the women's race, Kenya's Gladys Cherono made it a double win for Kenyan athletes as she clocked 2 hours, 19 minutes and 25 seconds to win the women's marathon. Eliud Kipchoge there, who's the winner of the gold in Berlin, at the Berlin Marathon that just concluded. Less than an hour ago, his personal best time, and talking about the importance of the shoes he was running in today. That's it for KTN Weekend at 1. I will be back at the top of the hour with KTN's news track, but I just want to leave you with the top stories for you this afternoon. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. Stay with KTN News. Here are the top stories once again. It's a change of guard for Somalia's military. And boost for East Africa's anti-poaching war as the US and China plan to ban ivory trade. Plus, pressure for reforms in the UN Security Council.